Alright guys, so today we're going to be going over the snatch. Now this is a very complex lift, so if you're new to lifting, if you don't have much movement awareness, then I would suggest getting your basic patterns down, squatting, overhead pressing, all that, to then work your way into this, because this is one of the most complex lifts there are, right? When should you use it? A lot of athletes tend to benefit from this, and obviously if you're a weightlifter, right, you have to do this lift. Now, to make it a little bit easier for you, I'm going to go ahead and break it up into parts, right, and different types of ways of doing it too. So we're going to go ahead and go over the hang snatch pulls, the hang snatch high pulls, overhead squats, which I've showed a video for that, but a snatch grip version, the snatch drops, which I've also showed another video by itself, and then the full snatch. Now you could do them off blocks, different positions, etc. Right? So there's many variations of it. The more advanced you are, the more you already know. If you have questions about how to set it up, if you're more of a beginner, you could go ahead and email me directly to ask more questions and details on that. Now, to keep in mind, so athletes should be using this, and weightlifters, right? So at the same time, make sure you progress in your warm-up. You're warmed up, because it requires a lot of mobility and a lot of different parts. Also, things that you could use alongside with it, besides the blocks, you could use chalk, right? I would not suggest using any straps, because the bar is moving so away from you, so it's going to be very hard to use straps, almost impossible, I would think. Knee sleeves, belts if you're going extremely heavy, all those basic essentials when you're really more advanced lifter, right? If you're more of a beginner, maybe just work on parts of it, or one part of the actual movement. One thing with the snatch is, just like the clean, hang clean, or any version of the clean, is really important to include power. Like, that's the main premise of the movement, is for power development, right? Power comes through the hips. So you always have to make sure when you're full extension, and we'll go into it in detail, that you're creating a triple extension, which is extension through your ankles, your knees, and your hips, right? So what it's going to look like, regardless of a hang clean or a clean or a snatch, the movement is going to look like you're fully extending through the hips, right, your knees, and your ankles. So if you cut it short, if you don't do one of those extensions, then you're kind of like having a break in the link, and therefore you're not going to produce as much power. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so to start off, hang snatch pulls. Now that's the first one we're going over, right? The first part. A hang anything means it's not actually starting from the ground. It's not touching, right? So it could be above your knees, below your knees, right, midway, just whatever plate you have on there is not touching the ground, right? Usually it's 45, or it's so many inches off the ground. It could vary, but the motion is, you're driving through the hips, right? You're doing a snatch grip, and now how to set up a snatch grip is usually double wide. So if you grab the bar, grab it at a certain distance, and you kind of bend over and let the bar rest on your legs and kind of like bend your elbows, it should be creating a 90-degree angle. That's just a basic guideline, right? Obviously you could adjust depending on your mobility and any other variations you might need to do to make. So once again, hang snatch pulls. You're going here, you're driving through the hips, and you're shrugging, right? So it's getting you the basic foundation of the snatch, right? Regardless of it being from the ground or not, that's part of the movement, right? So we'll progress into building upon more of that, okay? So, hang snatch high pulls. Now this is the second version, still in the hang position, right? Still having to hang the snatch grip, except now you're implementing not only the first part, the pull, which is a shrug, and the drive to the hips. Once you do the drive to the hips, you shrug, then you break through your elbows and get it up, right? Now that's the harder part. If you don't have very much shoulder mobility, really work on your pecs. Maybe they're tight, preventing internal rotation, or your posterior delts, lats, etc., preventing external rotation, which both of them you need during this movement, or this phase of movement, okay? So once again, hang, snatch, high pull. Now, the third part, overhead squats. Now you can refer back to another video for more details, but that's just getting you used to the motion of catching the bar overhead and being able to get up from the bottom in overhead position. Make sure the bar is always over the center of your body. So if I'm squatted, that bar shouldn't be in front of me or too far behind me, because then it's going to throw off your balance and your stability, right? So directly over you. Once again, shoulder mobility here is a big factor and limiting factor to some people, right? So keep that in mind. If you feel that you have any pain during any of these movements, then I would probably suggest you stopping, reassessing what's wrong and getting checked out before you move on and try to progress your way with bad habits into doing weighted snatches, right? That's a recipe for disaster, and you can increase your injury rate for sure, and no one wants that. Now snatch drops. So we kind of had a video of this as well. So once again, you can refer back to that video just by itself. What you're trying to do is not so necessarily press it, which you saw the first rep that I did, I kind of more pressed it, hence I'm not warmed up. Maybe bad idea, but it's not too strenuous for me. So warm up correctly, right? I tell you again because it's very needed, much needed. So with the snatch drops, you want to make sure you quickly drop underneath the bar and stick everything, meaning brace your whole body, right? Your shoulders, your core, your legs, keep your weight on the heels, right? In the case of you shifting your weight forward, brace everything once you catch, because that's essentially the bottom phase of the snatch, regardless if you're doing hang or the full version, right? You have to catch in that bottom position and get up from that bottom position. Now you're talking about weights with it, it gets kind of hard, right? So all body workout, it's going to require all ounces of energy that you have for one movement, okay? Now, I did the hang snatch, right? So the full version, so all parts are included into it. Make sure the bar stays as close to you as possible, right? As soon as you catch, once again, the weight should be directly over your center line. If you catch it and the bar's forward, you're gonna feel like any shifting going back. If you feel that you overshot it, if you're playing with bumper plates and moving with bumper plates, then just go ahead and drop it. At any point, if you feel that you don't have it and you're compensating, drop it. And I showed it with the PVC pipe, so that way my movements are a little bit more fluid, right? Because right now I'm not warmed up enough to do it with the bar, and I feel like I need to get a good 10-15 minute warm-up before I'm able to do these movements, which once again I suggest you do the same. So once again, that was the full hang snatch version, right? All parts that I just broke down are implemented into this movement. So it's one fluid motion. If you kind of like get ahead of yourself or miss one, it's gonna make it a lot harder for you to move efficiently and really maximize your power, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do, is maximize your power, move that weight as fast as possible, very efficiently, all right? So if you think this is an exercise that you would benefit from, and you're very self-aware of movement patterns, and you have a good foundation, then go ahead and do it. Now, one thing that I didn't cover is when you catch, the width stance, right? So you start here, and you sometimes see people do this. That's fine. You could flare out your feet, you could open up your base, as long as your knees are tracking over your toes. So if I go from here, and you see my knees tracking, right? And then I go out and my knees collapse, now that's a problem, because I'm putting more pressure immediately on the knee, which is very bad, right? So you want to always make sure your knees are tracking with your toes. So keep that very, very in your mind. Also, when you're pulling the bar, remember, and I didn't really say it, keep the bar as close to you as possible, right? Just like a deadlift, you want to keep it as close to you as possible. You drag the bar into you, because if you're going away, it's gonna make you work a lot harder, and your lever arm increases, which is, gonna make you work harder, which is not what you want. You want to work more efficiently and produce the most power, right? So keep that in mind as well. All right. All right, so there's the full snatch. Now, obviously there's a lot of mobility that you need. So in any of this, if you feel that you need help, email me at easyfitnesslife@gmail.com. Find me on social media. Let me know what you guys think. If you need more details, email me. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and you guys take care.